applicant, and I assume nothing further from you on this item, okay. I'll open the floor up for comments again, starting on my right-hand side of the room and my left-hand side of the room. Okay, City Council, any questions or comments? There being none, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
Move that we approve the alcohol beverage license for Kempton Hotel and Restaurant Group, pending attestation that the notification has run in the South Fulton neighbor on January 9th and the 16th.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? There being? Yeah. Right. All right, there being none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Unless you feel the desire to stay, you may depart the premises. Thank you very much. At this time, I'll open the floor for agenda items. We'll take general comments at the end of the meeting tonight, but if you have a comment or question about anything we're taking action on tonight, I'll start, we'll move to the left. My left-hand side of the room, if you come forward and state your name and address for the record and ask your question or make a comment. There's nothing on the left-hand side of the room. My right-hand side of the room. Okay. Next item then is consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, we have approval of minutes for December 4th and 18th. Approval of executive session minutes for December 4th. Consideration action for Peachtree Projects to hang a banner for advertising a Town Stomp X event in Hapeville. Consideration and action for a resolution of adoption of right of entry for the old Fulton County Health Department building. Consideration and action on the right of entry agreement for, well, that's the same thing. So, okay. Okay. Right of entry agreement, the other is a resolution, okay. And then we have consideration action on the ambulance purchase for the fire department, consideration action on van replacement for the recreation department. So that is the consent agenda. Is everybody happy with leaving all those items under the umbrella of consent? I assume so. If that's the case, then all in favor, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Glad we're taking action, and I appreciate Mark for looking in with staff to the prices for the van and the ambulance.
Very good. Any further comments? There being none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is consideration action on the 2019 meeting schedule ordinance. This is the second reading. Attached for consideration and action is the 2019 meeting schedule ordinance. The first reading was conducted on December 4th, 2018. Is anyone prepared to make a motion on this item?
Motion to approve with the caveat that we include the council retreat dates on the schedule.
Okay. Motion to approve with those dates included. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? There being none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we're entering the new business portion of our meeting, and first item up is organizational appointments. We have city attorney. You want to do these one at a time, I assume? So
You have a proposed ordinance? We'll do all at one time?
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have an ordinance that will address the organizational appointments. We'll also handle the appointments to committees, authorities, and boards, with the exception of the one vacancy that we will have on the Development Authority. So with that being the case,
I have a quick question.
yes.
And it relates to the city's legal organ. Hasn't been tuned up lately, I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
Oh, he'll be here on the shades of traffic.
We'll play jazz. Back in the previous General Assembly session, law was passed, it was not vetoed, regarding the use and publication for municipalities of certain procurement functions on the Georgia Procurement Registry if they reach a dollar amount or higher. I'm forgetting the exact dollar amount. So I think we brought this up last time when we did public organ as well, that it was recently passed but had not been set into law. It didn't get past June 30th at the time when we were considering this previously. The question I'm having there is, should legal organ be bifurcated into everything that's not procurement related and things that are procurement related? Since that state law supersedes us.
No, legal organ has a special meaning within the ordinance, the code for the state, so that whenever it's referencing the publication of notice of particular hearings and meetings, it's done in a legal organ. So if you're designating the legal organ. As for procurement, we can address that separately in a different time.
Okay.
So if you want to designate a different publication for your procurement policy, we can do that separately.
But I mean, since the state set that forth as a state law, does that automatically, I mean, there's not really home rule as it relates to meeting that dollar amount or not, so is it by de facto our legal organ?
It would be de facto your legal organ unless you designate otherwise.
Okay. That's probably the more clear question I should have asked. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt the ordinance that approves these appointments.
You will need to waive your second reading.
Okay, wait, first reading, you mean?
Sorry, waive first.
Okay. All right, first of all, assuming everybody's okay with these as noted, I'll entertain a motion we waive first reading on the ordinance that appoints the excuse me, the organizational appointments and the reappointments to committees, authorities, and boards.
I wanted to make one note
Newspaper.
that the Development Authority, Matt Morrison and Tanya Whistler,
Mhm.
that's actually the Development Authority of the city of Hapeville. Yeah, it's not for the Development Authority.
Right.
And does organ and publication, should that have been newspaper and it was just chopped off in Excel?
Yes, I'll
Separate.
newspaper.
Yes, yes.
Just making sure. I'm sure there's people out there that will cough out.
Okay.
We'll make those revisions.
All right. So with those, well, so right now we're trying to waive first reading. So is anyone prepared to make a motion to waive first readings?
Motion to waive first reading.
All right, motion to waive first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion on the adoption of this ordinance, subject to the changes noted.
So moved.
So this is the Hapeville Development Authority.
Yes, the Development Authority of the city of Hapeville, the DA.
CFH.
Okay. All right, so not the constitutional authority, but the statutory authority.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to be clear. Okay. All right. Did you make a motion, Travis?
I said so moved, so.
Oh, all right, motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Okay, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item up is, you've heard a lot about this in the news the last couple of days with action in the city of Atlanta too. But discussion on regulation of electric scooters. For discussion purposes, legal counsel has provided the attached ordinances from other municipalities concerning the regulation of electric scooters. So does anybody have anything they would like to?
No, just thank legal for being able to procure these samples. How did you end up getting Oakland? I emailed them and they didn't email me back.
A lot of charm. I called them
Okay.
and harassed them until I got it. And then I eventually found a copy online too.
Okay,
So,
Okay.
cool.
What do y'all think?
I do think that we don't see an abundance of this now here in Hapeville, but I do think that the trend is coming our way, and I think that we need to get ahead of the ball versus behind it. Unfortunately, some of the other cities, as referenced by Peggy Muris for the city of Decatur, she stated that they came out before they can have a plan in place. So I prefer to have a plan in place with us here.
Well, the one concern, the only big issue I have, well, two, is one is as Atlanta said, not blocking the sidewalks. I would actually prefer them to be ridden on the sidewalks, not on the streets. But the second thing is to require helmets. I think it's ridiculous when you put somebody on an object that can get to that kind of speed and not require them to have a helmet when every other motorized vehicle that leaves you exposed like that, like a bicycle or a motorcycle, you're required to have a helmet. So that would be the two things I would want to see more than anything else.
I was thinking too that we could restrict
Which streets?
the streets similar to the golf cart path so that they aren't allowed on streets that have heavier traffic, even though they go higher. I imagine you should be more careful on one of those things. I still don't know how they work. Then,
I can't walk and chew gum at the same time, so I'll probably never get on one.
but just to kind of restrict the streets that they can be on so that they don't impede traffic or startle drivers. I know someone rode up next to me on the expressway on the shoulder.
Yes, I saw a picture. Was
And I
that
just
you?
instinctually started to veer to the left.
Yeah.
So
Somebody
maybe
put a picture on
it's-
Facebook of somebody
Yeah, that's
doing that.
not
I could
good.
not believe that.
Yeah, 'cause they're really tough.
That close?
I'm scared of riding my car over this person.
Are you done? I think two of the things that was interesting about Atlanta's passage yesterday, one was, yes, they required a helmet, but two, they did not add a penalty for not wearing it, which basically makes it a toothless law. I mean, it allows a deputized officer to wag their finger and not really much more. So, like, I think there should be a penalty if we were to adopt similar language to Atlanta. Something very light that's more of an instructive, like a citation or something like that. Additionally, I think the second part that was ill-informed on Atlanta's part, still I think they're trying to lasso the sharing economy, which is a hard thing to do, but one of the statements in the law was, or in the ordinance was, they had to be placed 5 feet from the building if there was an abutting sidewalk, but no clarification on like what to do if your sidewalk is less than 5 feet. And so I think a smarter thing to do for us is if we know where we would like them to be, just to designate those spots as geolocated spots, which I think is what is similar to what Decatur did. And if they're not placed there, there's a fine imposed per day it's sitting out. I think the only flip side on that is like when somebody takes it and rides it from designated spot to their home and then they leave it on the road, are you just out of luck? So it's sort of, e-scooters is one thing, Uber's sub-brand Jump just started doing the competition to the City of Atlanta's contract for bike sharing, so all of a sudden you're seeing, as of 2 days ago I believe, a bunch of free-floating bike shares all around town, and I should have taken a picture but my phone was dead earlier today. There are even some of them that were being co-located like exactly next to the City of Atlanta's contracted bike share, like in the slot. So I'm sure Atlanta will have something to say about that with a separate ordinance. I'm pro having multiple electronic mobility options, but I just think this is gonna go from scooters to bicycles to maybe sharing hoverboards, I don't know. So.
Well, I think it'll be an evolving discussion. I don't know that anything that anybody does is going to be permanent because it's an evolving issue. So what's the next steps? Y'all want to review and kind of highlight comments back to the attorney and city manager?
I think that'd be good.
I do, Chloe, I do like your idea about mimicking the golf cart path that way. Because that was part of crossing major, crossing busy streets and whatnot. I think for safety factor, that's a great way. That's a good start, is to mirror that route potentially.
As well as this information will probably be transmitted to companies such as Bird, Lime, Uber. Somebody must have already been making information available to said groups before the ordinance was passed, because as of like 2 weeks ago, like the people that go release the birds and juice the limes or whatever you say, that fill them up and then release them out on the streets later. There's like geolocated things in the app that's like, don't put it around the state capitol. And I'm not sure if that's just because I don't want it to hit a legislator, but it's, to me, it's interesting that they're like, there's the geolocated spot around there. I think it's around Grady Hospital. And again, I'm just pulling this out while I'm walking down the street. But it's interesting that they're already like redlining areas for folks that are chargers to not place them. So I think we do have deference to, like, if we're doing a map, to one, outlaw where it shouldn't be, which is a state highway 1941, but two, where they can't be, where they cannot be placed unless they're just driven in there and left by somebody. So.
Okay. All right, anything else on this, council? Okay, we'll keep plugging along, and I think Andy and Tim, y'all probably got a good starting point based on our discussion.
If there's any parts of those ordinances that you want to circle and email back to us that you like, provisions you like, do that. We'll
I can get a copy of City of Atlanta's email.
Yeah, because it should be available since it just passed yesterday.
And I think it would be helpful if we reach out to these companies, because one thing that's going to be an enforceability issue is that if you designate spots, you have to be able to define it.
Right.
To enforce, because if you say this corner, or you can't be specific as to where they can drop them, then if someone's 20 feet down or blocked down, are they within the zone or are they outside the zone? So I think it would be helpful to talk to them about the geolocation so we can define it clearly in the ordinance. That would be helpful to them, to the industry, and it would be helpful to law enforcement.
But I mean, who polices that when they go outside of that? Because you're really dependent upon the users to drop them off at the proper place, and they're not gonna know.
But the chargers are.
Okay, you gotta drop them off at the chargers, okay.
We're talking about the
Kind of the initial.
They're
initial
charged by 1099s overnight in their backyard shed or in their garage or in their living room.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're dropped off in the morning before 7.
So they dropped off. Okay.
Yeah, they dropped off.
See, I don't even understand how they work, so there you go. Old guys like me,
I don't understand.
these kids these days. All right. Well, we'll keep plugging along on this. It may take a couple of iterations to get it like we need it, but. All right, next item will be city manager report. Tim?
Well, it's hard to believe it's January already.
Yes, sir.
And that means,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year to the residents. And that means we're also starting our budget process for fiscal 2020 already. And so at the next council meeting, we'll actually bring out basically a proposed budget schedule for your review. We're also reviewing our booting practices or booting practices within the city. We're working with legal on that. If not the next meeting, then by the first meeting in February, we should have a proposal for council to review. And also there have been some communications over basically about coyotes that had returned to the city. I want to advise council and to residents that the actual trapping has started the first week in January. I think December 31st, January 1st. We expect to have this to be the second week, and then expect to have kind of the results of what was found and destroyed next week.
Okay. Any questions for the city manager, council? Okay. At this time, I'll open up the floor for public comments. Members of the public wishing to speak shall sign in with the city clerk prior to start the meeting. Time limitations for registered comments are 3 minutes per person. The total registered comment session shall not last more than 15 minutes unless extended by council. Each member of the public who fails to sign with the city clerk wishing to address the mayor and council shall have a total of 2 minutes. So with that being said, I will open the floor up for public comments, and I'll start on my right-hand side of the room. Yes. Mr. Stalvey.
John Stalvey, 3284 North Whitney. I didn't get here in time to sign it, so I'll.
No, you're good. You got 2 minutes.
So in 2017, I think it was, we had a movie film here, Den of Thieves. I know a lot of the residents remember how loud it was. I have flashbacks of that on New Year's Eve. It sounded very similar. And I appreciate fireworks, and I know how the state law reads, but I think that as a city, we might want to do a better job of communicating our new ordinance that for purchasing the permit. I know that the state law allows it on that day, but a couple of days around that day, you know, since it rained on New Year's Eve. And I actually even, there's a couple, all the police officers weren't aware that there was a permit required to shoot off fireworks, a couple of them. So I think we might need to work on making sure we communicate better with the citizens on the requirement for that and on when and where they can shoot off fireworks, because, you know, it drives my dog crazy.
One day, I understand. Dog owners have a big problem with fireworks, and I understand and respect that.
Yep. So, and also, I have to work the next day, unlike most people.
I understand. Okay, any other comments on my right-hand side of the room? My left? Yes, sir, and then George. Go ahead.
Nelson Trainer, 3550 Atlanta Avenue. Pothole situation. Chestnut and Fulton, the hole has gotten like 3 feet wide since Christmas. It started out with like a little hole.
Okay.
And I called in today to report the hole. And somebody's gonna tear the front end out. It's right here, Chestnut and Fulton.
Okay. Lynn, can you pass that along? I know they're doing that streetscape improvements in that area, so they'll eventually get it cleaned up, but we'll patch it.
No, but it's a hole.
I know, I understand.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rogan?
George Rogan, 2108 Woodland Drive. Since the city does own that hotel, and I know that there's a schedule of, I think it's in the intergovernmental agreement, of updates of furniture over the years and maintenance. I think that the city should have some input insofar as governing that and looking at it, okay? I know that the judge could not validate that intergovernmental agreement, but he did make it clear that any citizen at any time could sue. I don't intend to sue, but I just want to let you know that you do have some responsibility because you are the owner, the city is the owner. And it's just not letting somebody else hire management companies without your being involved. The other thing is, and that's my comment on that, the other thing is, in response to Mr. Patel, yes, they did change the zoning for him. I was at the meeting, and here's the telling statement. I asked the question, what happens if his contract doesn't go through? The answer was, we'll just change the zoning back. So what does that tell you?
Thank you, Mr. Rogan. Yes, ma'am. Pat?
Patricia Waller, 485 Radar Drive. I just want to make a comment about my concern about picking up leaves and trash on the side of the road. It seems that it's been 3.5 to 4 weeks. I know in our case, we're having work done on our house and we couldn't get the people in because it was 3.5 weeks and not until after I called were they picked up. And I understand, I was told that they decrease the staff in the winter because there's not as much work. But if we want our city to look nice, having leaves and limbs piled on the side of the road for an extended period of time kills the grass and it really doesn't look good. So I really would like to see a little bit more attention paid to getting that cleaned up.
Yeah, the rain hasn't been our friend either. That makes it, that taxes the staff that's already overtaxed. All right, any other comments on my left? Okay. I've already, Go, come on, Mike, go ahead. Yeah, I was gonna say, move over to the left-hand side of the room.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
3302 Dogwood. I also wanted to say, we came to the council meeting tonight, right there on South Central, in front of the depot, turning the corner. There's a huge pothole there. I checked the tire to make sure we didn't do any damage to the car, but it's a pretty big pothole.
Lynn's writing it down right now. Thank you. All right. Any other comments? There being none, city council comments? Councilman Alexander?
Is there a plan to have the information about trash pickup and recycling on the next agenda?
Can be on the next agenda, and what I did, we have the RFPs for privatization actually are in, should be in next week.
Leave that one out late the second.
Yeah.
How about that?
I'll check my email once.
No, I'm with you. I don't always have a chance to check it out. Any other comments?
All right, sorry I missed that. My second issue is, not issue, I have a request. I walk a lot down King Arnold, and I know people who live near you email you and call you about things. But this is one thing that I see a lot walking with my kids is none of the garbage cans or dumpsters that are behind the strip mall where Sombreros is, none of them are in compliance. I do know the Republic picks up at night on weekends, and so I could see on a Sunday morning, if they don't respect our ordinances, the doors being open, but they're open all the time. It smells bad. People walking by throw their garbage. If they miss it, it just sits where it lies. I was texting Travis, I have mixed feelings about throwing a fit because I've also seen maintenance people just blow the garbage into the sewer. So I would like to see like a concerted enforcement measure in that area because it is facing residential area, it's facing an apartment complex. Chick-fil-A dumpsters look great, but unfortunately their neighbors aren't doing as good of a job, so.
Councilman Alexander?
No actual,
Councilman
no real comments. But I'm happy to hear everyone. But I just piggyback on what Councilman Alexander said. Even that I was over at the fire department and I walked out the door and I was like, whew, is there a dead body over in that dumpster somewhere? But yeah, we really need to get a hold of that and make sure they are complying with our ordinances here. But other than that, no, I'm good. And again, Happy New Year.
Councilman Norman?
Probably 4 or 5 months ago, I brought up the idea about. You want to say another thing? You good? You're good?
No, go ahead.
All right. About subsidizing Ring doorbells, and then I think some of the conversation went into gratuities clause, buying stuff for people, etc. DeKalb County just signed a memorandum of understanding for their unincorporated parts of DeKalb County where DeKalb Police patrol. And so it was passed by the DeKalb Board of Commissioners, or whatever they refer to their governing authority as. It's an MOU that the city would advertise the Ring neighborhood portal, which is basically like their video version competition to Nextdoor.com. In sort of like public postings in their county newsletter, and in return, DeKalb County received, I think it was 70 or 80 Ring doorbells, of which the MOU outlines either the DeKalb County Police Department can distribute those to neighbors in areas that they see fit, or that there could be like an application process. So I think it was an interesting workaround where there's not a trade of anything of like cash or monetary, but there is Ring doorbells that are transferred so that they can be distributed to citizens free of cost. So I think it's a kind gesture. I reached back out to the 2 individuals that I'd previously been in communication with. That was yesterday evening, so I'm yet to hear a response from them, but I'll keep y'all abreast as soon as I hear something and I can forward any MOU to Tim to forward to legal. Mayor Hallman had posted something on his Facebook about a leaf sucker machine.
Oh, that machine that they were showing up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I looked into the cost of those. They're made by, and pardon me, Kubota. And they're relatively inexpensive. So if our leaf machine continues to act up, I think that might be a convenient option if we're not looking to buy another leaf machine.
Super high performance machine that really picked up quickly, very quickly. I was quite impressed with it.
When I had emailed about a pothole at Moreland Avenue and Dogwood, staff responded quickly within 24 hours and fixed it. But I do remember one of the comments that Lee had made in the email was something about the actual heating machine is not functioning to the full capacity. So I'm not sure how much one of those costs, but it might be possible that we get a new one of those if need be. And I'm appreciative of Mr. Sutta's response and I guess future potential action as it relates to what I refer to as the lake at Oak and Jackson. Those sewer holes are really too small for drainage. So the quicker we can get to getting our emergency construction crew out there to widen the lip. I don't know if there's any actual...
Is it the catch basin? Is that the problem then?
Actually, the biggest problem is the openings on the catch basins are actually too big.
Oh.
And they're sucking in leaves and limbs, and they're clogged inside the pipe, which is only a 4-inch pipe.
I got you.
But we have the parts on order, so that we're gonna replace those within the next week or so,
Right.
depending on when they get in.
And I remember y'all put, I mean, that's not another way to put it than like the temporary Band-Aid until that happens, and I'm appreciative of that, but then that got sucked into the
Yeah, I
to
mean,
the
there's
drainage.
such an entire sock
Sock.
in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Earlier tonight during the zoning hearing about Mr. Patel, I made an error in when Mr. Dalton was speaking about his time limit. I apologize. We changed our procedures and I didn't have them printed out in front of me. So that was an oversight on my part. And as the chief elected official and the man that runs the meeting, I shouldn't make mistakes like that. So I do apologize for that error. So I thank you all for coming out tonight. I appreciate y'all being a part of your local government. And I wish you all, as everyone else has said, a happy new year. Thank you. God bless you all. We do have an executive session, so I'll entertain a motion. We go into executive session for real estate.
So moved that we're going into executive session for real estate.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed? I'll entertain a motion that we recess.
So
Motion to recess, is there a second? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? We stand in